It is a super feel-good Friday. I know you're talking about the NFL honors and things of that nature. Probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen. For about 23 years, I was an AP All-Pro and honors voter. And I always took it very seriously. I know how much it means to the players. I was fortunate enough to win the MVP way back when in a whole nother time frame. So I always knew what it meant for somebody to be an All-Pro, and I always try to look past the popular player, always look at the numbers and see if those numbers jumped off the page. And one of those players at one time was Richard Sherman, an undrafted defensive back out of the Seattle Seahawks. I voted him on the All-Pro team. And people were asking me, how could you vote a guy like that nobody knows about? I said, well, have you watched the guy play? When he was a young player for the Seattle Seahawks, he was one of the best defensive backs in football, one of the most physical defensive backs in football. So I found it very easy to do that if you take your job seriously and take your vote seriously. So one of the really long-standing, I guess, unwritten rules is if you make the All-Pro team and you are first-team All-Pro, then you are going to be in line for honors after it's all over said and done with. And the big question here, the big controversy here would be the MVP. And Lamar Jackson was far and away voted the All-Pro quarterback. However, last night, as we found out, Josh Allen won the MVP vote.
And the same people vote on both?
Same people vote on both, and they're two different ballots. It is very interesting that this happened. I don't know what people were thinking about. I mean, I'm not saying that Josh Allen didn't have a great season. Of course he did. Joe Burrow had a great season. Saquon Barkley had a great season. And Josh was was gracious last night, as you would expect, and he looked great, and he said all the right things. I mean, it was stunning to me that he won it, honestly, because I've never heard the All-Pro quarterback not really winning the MVP, or somebody not on the All-Pro team winning the MVP. And when you take a look at Lamar Jackson's season, I mean, it was one for the ages, maybe the greatest single season any quarterback has ever had statistically, given the fact that he is a dual threat player, much like Josh Allen is.
Yeah, Josh Allen was surprised. He thought that Lamar Jackson was going to win it. This reminds me a lot of the Joel Embiid winning it over Jokic because they didn't want Jokic to win 3 in a row. It almost feels something like that. Like, let's give it to somebody else. It's Lamar Jackson. We can't have Lamar Jackson winning as many MVPs as Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or whatever, because if you look at the facts and you look at the numbers, it's absolutely Lamar Jackson's MVP. And, we've talked a lot about these things, and it's these conversations drive me crazy, and I think you'll appreciate why, is because all of these guys, when you're talking about the top 2 guys in the MVP race.
We're talking about greatness. You're talking about greatness.
We're talking about Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
And then these conversations devolve into tearing one of those guys down and propping somebody up. And I understand it's sports talk, but, it's one thing if we're sitting here and we're yelling about Zach Wilson or Daniel Jones or, somebody that stinks, Kayvon Thibodeau, whatever. It's like that. But when you're talking about these great guys, it's like they're all deserving of praise, and it sucks that somebody who had an unbelievable career or an unbelievable season, loses out on this stuff, and then we're talking about how they're a loser when they're the exact opposite of that. And the voting is interesting, the fact that there's writers that do all of this stuff.
Well, I was not a writer.
Right. But there are.
And by the way,
there's writers for Hall of Fame.
I know, but this is the first year that I had not voted for the AP. I was taken off, and I was more than happy to be taken off. But I just, my thing is that, yes, we are arguing about great players.
Yeah.
And the same thing when it comes to the Hall of Fame. We're arguing about great players that eventually will get into the Hall of Fame. And, the whole first ballot Hall of Fame deal I know is a big deal.
But before you get into that, because I was about to say something here about the voting. So Lamar Jackson got a 4th place vote. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And it was a former quarterback who gave him a 4th place vote. Jim Miller. So Jim Miller, who now works for SiriusXM, was a Bears quarterback. I don't know where else he played. I forget. But he had Lamar Jackson 4th on his ballot.
And the thing about Jim Miller, he works with Pat Kerwin on SiriusXM, and they have a very popular show over there. And, that's his vote. He'll have to explain his vote. I can't explain it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, Lamar, every single week, boom, 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 you could just count on it that, his team was going to put up 30 points. Now, the same thing with Josh. I mean, we all know that they're both great players, and you could say that Joe Burrow.
He had Joe Burrow ahead of him. He had Josh Allen first, Saquon Barkley second, Joe Burrow third, Lamar Jackson fourth. That was his ballot. Disagree, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have a quarterback that runs for over 900 yards, throws for over 4,000 yards, throws 4 interceptions in a season, throws 41 touchdown passes. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I would not agree with that. And, I'm sure he has his reasons for it. I'm not going to tear him apart. I'm just going to say I completely disagree. If you wanted to put Saquon Barkley second because of the 2,000-yard season, and he may have broken the record had he played in the 17th game, I could make that argument, and I could also say that they have the best offensive line in football. They have a mobile quarterback. They have 2 great wide receivers, because that's the argument that they use against Lamar Jackson when it comes to the MVP compared to Josh Allen. Oh, look at all these great players he plays with.
Yeah,
I could say the same thing about Saquon Barkley.
Sure.
Look at all the great players he plays with.
Look at this offensive line.
Look at that offensive line. All pro guys all over the place. Pro Bowl players all over the place. It's an argument, but it was one of the real. If anything that came out of this last night, that was, to me, was shocking, because I don't think I'd ever seen that before.
Yeah.
A non-all-pro player winning the MVP.
All right, so the first ballot Hall of Fame stuff, Eli Manning, not first ballot, and I thought he was going to be, and because of the magical Super Bowl runs, and I understand all the other numbers, I mean, for God's sakes, we have relitigated Eli Manning's career ad nauseum on this radio station and this show. So I'm fully aware of all the numbers, all the seasons, the records, this and that. I know this guy in and out. But I still thought, because he's a Manning, because of the 2 Super Bowl MVPs and the playoff runs, that he would get in first ballot. So he doesn't. I'm not shocked. I don't go crazy about these things. But the thing that was interesting to me, there were 10 guys ahead of him. Like he didn't miss out, and he was on the outside looking in, like on the doorstep.
He dropped.
I mean, this was like he ain't close type of thing.
Yeah, maybe there's some Manning fatigue there. I don't know.
Manning fatigue.
I will say congratulations. So there's only 4 guys going in, so maybe they just want to keep the program short this year. Maybe that's it. Sterling Sharp is going to make it after playing 7 seasons in the NFL. So kind of along the lines of Gale Sayers. Was extremely impactful, but unfortunately cut by injury. His career cut by injury finally makes it in, and I think that Shannon, I'm sure, is very happy, because he's been advocating for his brother for so long. Your buddy Jared Allen makes it.
Yeah.
My man Eric Allen, who I've seen a lot of this interception return that I threw in 1993 with him.
Yeah,
that should have not been allowed, because there was an illegal block on the play against Johnny Mitchell. But that's who cares, right? I mean, like, everybody's screaming about the officials. So I just got to put that out there.
Okay.
But he was a great player. There's no question about that, and richly deserving. And I'm happy. I'm happy for him. And then, of course, Antonio Gates, who really was a guy that when he played, his name was mentioned every single week in the box scores, in the numbers he put up. So every single one of them are worthy of it. It's just unfortunate that Eli Manning didn't get in on the first ballot. Oh, my God, this is the end of the world. But he'll get in eventually, and, maybe it's the next time around or 2 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look, there are some locks in the next couple of years. I heard CMAC and Fleegs going over it the next few years, and, the guys that retired 5 years ago, and there's people that will 100% be first ballot.
Going to get in, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, but
because it actually they reduced the amount of years for the coaches.
Did they? Okay.
Yes.
So, but as far as, the other players, I probably think, guys like Aaron Donald and Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, there's going to be Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald.
It's ridiculous, the amount of guys that are going to be on this list now.
So,
and it's good. It's just going to push other guys down, and this is what happens. I mean, this is basically the way it works. I mean, the more guys that now become eligible, the more popular those guys were when they played. And
yeah.
I mean, how does Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers not make it?
I think, yeah. I mean, they probably will. I mean, there's going to be, and if Phillip Rivers makes it on the first ballot, then Giants fans and Eli Manning supporters are going to go nuts about that because he never won and yada, yada, yada. But, yeah, I mean, to me, when it's just for a guy who was rooted for a team that has never won a Super Bowl, and I saw and lived through those Eli Manning runs in those Giants Super Bowls, and then I see Giants fans get annoyed with something like this, it drives me crazy.
Why?
Because you had these incredible, absolutely incredible experiences that I would kill for. And now, like, you're feeling bad or angry about his career because some writers didn't put him in the first ballot of the Hall of Fame. You should never feel bad about that. No one should ever take anything away from Eli Manning's tenure as a New York Giant with those 2 Super Bowls. And it drives me crazy. And, like, the fact that this guy's career now, it's judged based on the first ballot Hall of Fame stuff, that shouldn't be it. I mean, it should be the moments that he gave the fan base.
Yeah.
I mean, and if I said it once, I said it a million times. It's the greatest postseason run in 2007 in the history of pro sports. And now it's like, oh, okay, because Ira Kaufman in Tampa didn't vote for Eli Manning on the first ballot, that somehow is some sort of taint on his career. Bull crap.
How do you think Jared Allen feels today? I think Sterling Shepard
awesome.
feels.
And
Sharp feels.
And the other part of this discussion is that when people start crapping on guys that they don't expect to be in the Hall of Fame, what's it to you? Like, those guys and those moments and what they put in to their careers, let them have their moments. Like, anybody's like, this guy doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it. Well, okay, go up to his face and tell him he doesn't deserve it. Because him and his family and everybody else, it's an awesome moment.
Everybody who's ever played with a guy, anybody who's ever coached the guy, his family, you name it. I mean, they all have their own stories that are more than deserving to be put in the Hall of Fame. It's just unfortunate guys like Jared Allen and Eric Allen had to wait for so long. The same thing with, I can say the same thing about Sterling Sharp. I mean, we all know when he played, and I played during his era, that he was a menace on the football field as a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And it's just unfortunate that, he had to go through really serious injuries and could never make it back. I mean, it's kind of like Gale Sayers, same thing. For those people who remember Gale Sayers and the running back for the Chicago Bears and what he was when he played, and then just like Joe Namath, when he blew his knee out, I mean, forget it. The whole thing changed because they didn't do the surgeries the way they do today.
Yeah. Yep. And if you remember Gale Sayers and you saw him play live, call Al. That's what it is.
Yeah, just tell Al.
Al. Call Al. If you saw Gale Sayers play, you saw him play live, call Al. Tell him all about it. And tell him how long you've been watching football.
Yeah, I don't want to get knee deep into all this stuff. We discussed it, and it's enough that already. We got a game on Sunday. It's going to be a huge game. There's going to be a lot of different factors going into this game. I was telling Allie, I said, I just wish the game was at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, you're telling me. I mean, God, I would love that. I mean, but then that's noon on the West Coast, which is strange.
They would love it out there.
Put it at 4:30. 4:30 would be fine. Even 5. 6:40 something is too much.
It's too much. It is too much.
And everybody goes like, oh, well, what are you doing? What Super Bowl party are you going to? I'm not going to a goddamn Super Bowl party because I got to sit here. And not only do I got to watch the game, which is fine. I love this job. Never want to do anything else. I got to know everything that happened because we're going to talk about it the next day. Something that happened during a pregame show or something that happened, the national anthem and the halftime show and the commercials and everything else. I got to be locked in.
Yeah.
I can't be slamming buffalo wings down my throat and Miller Lights and tequila. I can't be doing that.
You got to be focused.
I got to be locked in.
Yes.
I got to bring you the stuff the next day. So no Super Bowl party for me. And if they make the Monday after the Super Bowl a national holiday,
we got to
that
work.
screws us because then no one's going to work.
Right.
And then we're just sitting here yammering to nobody.
Well, we're not yammering to nobody. We have our TV audience. I mean, you're thinking about yammering to nobody in a car.
That's
like
right.
The folks that are in cars right now.
And that's how our...
But we have an Odyssey app now that you could always go back and listen to.
You can do that, yes. The free Odyssey app. What'd you think of Jordan Hudson last night?
What do you mean? What do you think I think?
I just wanted to see what you thought.
I thought she was beautiful.
I mean, man, did she want to send a message?
Yes, she did.
Did she want to send a message last night? Who sent a bigger message, the Pro Football Hall of Fame writers about Eli Manning or Jordan Hudson to all the haters?
How many rings did Bill Belichick wear in his fingers?
Oh, I think all of them. And then she had one, too.
I mean, it's a little bit much, don't you think?
No, it's not. I think it's...
I think you should wear all your rings at once.
I think that...
We know you're great. We know it.
Okay, the owners didn't want him to coach in the league again. We talked about this. He couldn't get another NFL job. This was the biggest FU to everybody that didn't hire him.
I didn't look at it that way. So now that you have opened my eyes to what you believe is a big FU to the NFL ownership.
100%.
Okay, well,
you don't want to hire me?
You know what?
Here are all my Super Bowl rings. Here's my 22-year-old girlfriend who's half naked, and all you guys can go screw. That's what that was. I'm telling you right now, that's what that was.
All right, I get it.
You don't want to hire me, huh? You don't want to hire me? I might just be the most successful man in the world.
Right.
Not only do I have all these Super Bowl rings, I got this dime piece wearing one, too. And you can see your entire torso.
Yes, all right.
Suck it, Arthur Blank.
All right, so I guess you're right. I didn't think of it that way. I should have thought of it that way, but I didn't.
You know, I mean, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had a conversation about this. You know, we should really show up to the NFL Honor Show. Like, you show up basically showing all your skin. I'm dusting off Super Bowl rings.
What's he becoming, Kanye West of the NFL?
You know what?
What?
Good comparison there. I like that. Jordan Hudson was the NFL Honors Bianca Censori. 888-808-1019. How about that?
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that until just now.
Yeah, man. So anyway, but it was fun to watch, and Snoop Dogg had some jokes and everything else. I don't know who wrote his jokes. He probably did not, but he delivered them okay. And it was a fun little night for the NFL, as it always is. And hopefully it's a fun night in the NFL Sunday night with Super Bowl 59. All right, it is Boomer and Gio on the Fan.